Welcome back, everybody, to the Conversations and Connections podcast. I'm your host, Sandy McGregor. It is a delight to have you back here, and I can't wait to introduce you to the next guest. She is a friend that I've come to know through homeschooling and a community organization that we attended together called The Branches. Hi, Laura. We miss you. And we have connected. Our girls have been friends, and it is just an amazing opportunity to have Chantal Dubé with us today. She is amazing, and I have been so inspired by you since I first met you. And I'm just going to share a little bit about you so the guests have an understanding. But before I do that, I'm just going to show them your recent publication called God is Not Random, Learning the Rhythm of Trust. Such an incredible book. Your story is beautiful, and we're going to get into that today. And we're going to be talking all about adoption, infertility, and
Mhm.
the professional career you have as a musician, as a harpist. And so, a little bit about you, Chantal, is that you are a well known recording artist. And I was actually listening to it again this morning, the song The Journey. It's so
Mhm.
calming. um, and you have six albums, successful albums. Unto His Name, Still Moments, Heavenly Peace, Christmas Classics, two original albums called Journey and Buzzing Bee Kids Music. And they're available anywhere on all platforms. You've received credits for your work on Drake's album Views. You've been working on 100 Huntley Street, TVO Kids, Backyard Beats, and you also love to play for the smallest, most beautiful, fragile human beings in the NEO intensive care unit for premature babies. So we're going to also talk a little bit about that as well. But wow, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm excited. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So maybe let's just get to know you a little bit more. I've shared a little bit, but why don't you share a little bit more about you?
Yes, sure. I grew up in the Niagara area in a beautiful Christian home, and both my parents are entrepreneurs. And so, this is why I have such an entrepreneurial heart
Mm,
and creative mind.
mhm,
Both my parents are artists in their own way. My mom is a pianist and has her own music studio, and my
mm,
dad is a carpenter and he built kitchen cabinets, had his own business doing that. Still has his
okay.
workshop and is always creating things and inventing things. So I was just immersed in a wonderful environment of creativity.
Mm, mhm.
And they really put a lot of confidence into anything I wanted to do. And they really fueled all of my passions.
Yeah,
So, of
yeah.
course, music has always been the biggest part of my life.
Mhm,
And I started to play the piano for as long as I can remember, to be honest. I've been
mhm,
playing the piano.
mhm.
Even when I was a baby, my mom would roll my crib out of the room into the living room where she
That's fun.
taught piano.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah,
was right there.
yes,
That was amazing. I
yeah.
don't remember that part though.
No, that's why we have
But
moms to remind us.
yeah, exactly. So then I started piano from a really young age, and then I wanted to play the harp. I heard the sound of the harp in movies, and I was
Mm,
just so, intrigued by the sound of it. I
it's
said to my mom, "I
gorgeous.
wanna learn that." But
Yeah.
my poor mom's like, "We have 4 pianos in the house," like
You're like, what do we hold on a second? We already have enough.
Yeah. So I'm like, "You know what? Let's just think about this and make sure you really wanna do it."
Yeah,
And also, it was like, where do we start with this instrument? It's very rare and it's
it
very
is.
unique.
So
So
rare.
at age 12, actually, she signed me up for like a summer music camp with the Niagara Symphony. And that's where I was introduced to the harp
Oh,
and my
yeah.
teacher. And they were able to rent me a harp. And the journey began from there. And the rest is history.
Yes, and I can't wait to talk more about that today. It's such a great part of your story. I love that so much. Let's go back to a little bit about your early beginnings and how your childhood really was a part of shaping your faith journey.
Yeah. So, as I said, raised in a Christian home, and I became a Christian at the age of 9, just accepting God's gift to
Mm,
me, right? As the sinner that I was and that I am, just accepting his free gift of salvation
mm,
and just wanting to serve him. And I think I've always had that heart to serve him through my music, especially.
mm,
So that's definitely been a big part of my faith journey
yeah.
all through growing up and being
Mm,
able to make music like my first albums were old hymns, right? And
Mhm,
because
mhm.
that was the kind of environment that I grew up in, and that's what we sang at church.
Right.
And, that's what a lot of us end up going back to, I think, anyways, is
I
these
100%
old
agree.
hymns.
It stays
Yeah.
with you in your
Yeah.
mind and yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that definitely shaped my journey and just being able to record those albums and then getting those early albums, getting that feedback from people saying, I listened to this when I was going through this difficult time and
Mhm,
it brought
mhm,
me so much
mhm.
comfort. Or
Mm,
I listened to this when I am meditating with the Lord in the morning
mm,
through my
mhm.
devotions
Yeah.
or in my time of prayer.
Mhm.
I realize like the music is really a vehicle sometimes to prepare
Yeah,
our hearts
it
and to
is.
get our hearts and minds in the right place. So
Mhm.
that just really encouraged me to keep doing that sort of thing and keep
Yeah.
recording and yeah, and keep playing and trying to encourage people through my music.
Oh, you absolutely do. It is so beautiful. And I was thinking too about the harp. How how did you begin that harp journey, that being a harpist? Because it is such a large instrument and
Yeah.
they are very expensive. And that's
Yes.
interesting that you were able to rent it, which is such
Mhm.
a great way to start, because that's what you need. You need help along the way. You can't just pick up these things and start. You need encouragement. So that's really great to know. So anyone
Yeah.
out there who might be thinking of this for your children or for you, there are
Mhm.
ways to do it. So that's
Absolutely. Actually, even more so now,
yeah.
because we have the internet, so you can
Yes.
just do a lot more research. Back
Mhm,
then, like,
mhm.
if it wasn't for the Niagara Symphony, I wouldn't be where I am today
Yeah.
because they actually owned harps that we rented.
Yeah.
So all of my teacher students had these harps that they
Mhm.
rented from the symphony.
Yeah.
But now you can find them online, and you can even take lessons with people over Zoom, just
Yes.
from
Yes.
anywhere in the world, which is a huge advantage for
It
people,
really
so
is. Yeah.
yeah.
So you're absolutely right to bring that up because there are so many more possibilities today. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit about your family. So, talk about your journey with Dwayne. Where did you first meet him? And so much of your book, like your book, is just incredible. But I love how you incorporate your early beginnings and your marriage and all of the ups and downs that you're going to be talking about with adoption and infertility. So, let's talk a little bit about that. Talk about your story with Dwayne.
Okay, so, uh, growing up in Niagara, didn't really go to Toronto too much, and I really wanted to go to Canada's Wonderland, but I also didn't wanna go, like, just me and my friends, so I didn't wanna pay full price. This is the true story. I
I
was a
get it. It's not
grinder.
cheap.
No, it's not cheap, but I was a grinder, so I thought, "Okay, oh, a group rate. How many people do we need to go to get this group rate?"
Yeah.
So I organized a bunch of youth groups from different churches to all meet at Canada's Wonderland so we could get this group rate. And then because I'm such an efficient and organized person, or at least I try to be, I thought I don't want to get lost at Canada's Wonderland.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I go on the best rides in the right order so that I can maximize my day.
So you're
So
the
I
person to call when you need to go on a trip or
yes.
Wonderland to get the most out of your day. That's good to know.
Yeah, so what happened was I was collecting the money for all the tickets, and then there was these group of young people that all had season passes, so
Hmm.
so I didn't have to collect any money from them, and a light bulb went off. Follow the people with the season passes.
Yes.
I will not get lost if I
No.
stick with this group of
Yeah.
people. So my cousin and I stuck with them, and Dwayne was in that group. And so I stuck with them all day. We had a fabulous time, never got lost, went on the best rides, had the best day. And yeah, Dwayne and I had a connection. And that connection was kind of like I felt that mutual connection with him. That's something on the
Mhm.
Mind Buster roller coaster.
That is such an ancient roller coaster. I wonder if
I
they
know.
even have it still.
Um, I don't know. I think they might, but we have been on it, not recently, but it doesn't feel the same when you're an
No,
adult.
no, it's different. We love that one. That was one we would always go on first, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, be careful where and how you fall in love because our life has been full of ups and downs like a roller coaster ever since, which is ironic, but it is what it is. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
Dwayne actually knew about me and knew of me prior to Canada's Wonderland.
Really?
So yeah, he had his eye on me. So it was really no surprise that he, made his way to me that day.
Right. All of a sudden he's like, now's the time.
Yes, he seized his moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. I love hearing those stories. They're always so special. And
They
how
are.
long have you been married now?
It is going to be 25 years in
Wow.
September.
Wow, that's a big year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I can't
amazing.
believe it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's true. We're at 29 and I still, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I can't believe that either.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is great. Thank you for sharing those parts of your story. It's good to get to know you better. And so the
Mhm,
listeners have an idea about you as well. But I want to talk a little bit about your book now. God is not
mhm.
random, learning the rhythm of trust. So, first of all, it's a beautifully written book and
Thank
it
you.
just has the presence of God all the way through, all like the roller coaster of all of the ups and downs. So when you guys got married, it's just like you don't know what you're going to be up against. You don't know the
No.
journeys that you're going to have and the ups and the downs. And you always wanted to be a mom and you had that desire in your heart and God placed it there. And you talk about it so beautiful in such a precious way because that's what God does. He places these things in our heart and it's not
Mhm.
random. It is
Yeah.
very intentional. And you share in your in the book the unexpected journey of infertility and adoption, and yet the opportunities and the unique, wonderful moments that did transpire through these difficult challenges. But I want to read what Moira wrote about your book because it's really, really beautiful. So Moira Brown says, "We are all in God's waiting room. For something, indeed, wait may be God's favorite word. That's hard, isn't it? But trials are designed to develop our trust muscles. Your faith will be strengthened as Chantal opens her heart and journal, taking us through every raw emotion of the agonizing journey with infertility that she and her husband Dwayne endured. Yet these pages hold so much more. And I think one of the favorite parts of the book for me is when you actually, it's almost like you put the computer aside and you went to your journal and then you said, this is going in the book. And it was so powerful because you couldn't, how would you have described it any other way except the raw moment of what you were going through and what you were sharing with your family? Okay, here's the update. Here's the update. Here's what's going on. It's so powerful. And I'm so glad you included that in the book as well. When you get to the end of the chapter, you have this really great one that kept coming back. So you would say, remain in silence and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal how to best navigate through the storms of your journey. Each one, you start with this challenge and inviting the Holy Spirit and the question. And then you take it right through. And then you have a journaling component as well and beautiful verses. And then you have the QR code that takes you to the music. And
Yeah,
it just, it's so beautifully and so well thought out. So I'd love to talk about, first of all, your journey to writing the book. When did you
yeah,
first think about actually documenting your journey? And then I would love to talk a little bit about your infertility and adoption journey. So let's start with the
sure.
book.
Yeah, so I think, after Nathan was born, I thought, "Oh my word, like, look what we have been through."
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
were finally on the other side of it,
Hmm.
and it was so much, and I've always been a journaler. I
Hmm.
love to
Hmm.
journal. I think actually journaling is so important. It
Yeah,
helps you
I
to
agree.
process,
I agree.
and I don't care what your journal looks like. It
Yeah.
could be point form,
Yeah.
it could be so scrappy looking, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter. It's for you and you could
Hmm.
read
Hmm.
back, right? And
Yeah.
so if I hadn't journaled, we wouldn't have that book.
No.
Um, so I'm so thankful I journaled and I do want to encourage people to do that, which I do in the book as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yes, after Nathan was born, I just thought we've been through so much and I have learned so much and in such difficult times and through
Hmm.
such dark and lonely, long storms, I
Hmm.
wanted my kids to know what we had been through. I
Yeah.
thought, if we've gone through this, they have to know about it. They
Yeah.
have to know where their journey began
Yeah.
ultimately,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
was before
Absolutely.
them, right?
Hmm.
And I don't ever want them to forget what we went through
Hmm.
to get to where we are today. It didn't just happen,
No.
right?
No.
Just like I don't remember my mom pulling me up in the crib next to her while
Mhm.
she was teaching piano. My kids were not here for all of the tears and the struggles. They see the success that we have
Mhm.
today as a couple who's been married for 25
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
I want them to know it was not like that at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
It was a hard, hard struggle.
Yeah.
So, my first
Yeah.
reason for writing the book was for my kids.
Right.
That was my biggest why
Mm.
for writing the book.
Mhm.
The other reason, the second reason for writing the book was that in my season of infertility,
Mhm.
um, I was alone. All my friends were having babies. I was
Mhm.
hosting and planning all the showers, buying all the
Mhm.
gifts. It
Yeah.
was really challenging.
Oh,
I
hard.
was thrilled for them,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I was just like slowly dying
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, every time there was a shower, it just tore another piece of my heart out.
Yeah.
Um, it's such a weird feeling, and I've
Yeah.
talked to other people since then who struggle with infertility that, they've gone through the same thing.
Mhm.
So it was such
Mhm.
a lonely, dark time. I thought if I could be with someone on their journey, like I wish someone had been there for me,
Right.
just through the book, because
Mhm.
maybe you don't wanna share it with other people, and
Yes.
that's okay. Everyone processes things
Yeah.
differently, but at least they'd have a book
Mhm.
with a story and a testimony of someone who has been there.
Yeah.
We might not have the same ending or the same outcome,
Yeah.
but the
Right.
struggle is the same. The
Yeah.
journey is very similar.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love the fact that you bring that up because um, somebody can pick up this book, whatever journey they're on, and maybe they're not
Yeah.
even on an adoption or infertility
Yeah.
journal, but there's a different trial or struggle in their life. And that was impactful for me. And I was thinking, wow, I can't wait to share this book with other people, not only so that they understand your journey personally and they get introduced to your music, which is very important, but it's also really neat because it really does help people walk through trials and you guide
Yeah.
them very intentionally right to the word of God and help through the scriptures. And because you're so open and you're raw and honest and relatable about all of the emotions that go with this, you don't want to candy coat it because
Mm-mm.
somebody who's picking up this book might be going through something completely different, but just as distressing and hard.
Mhm.
But they see the hope that you had and the people you surrounded yourself with and how you allowed God to work in you didn't mean you were always like, yes, Lord, this is the best thing ever. Because
Yeah,
that's
no.
the reality. It's hard. You're not getting what you think that you knew you wanted right from the beginning. And why would God place this in your heart? And I have to read a quote actually from here. And you say, He may seem random, but God is always purposeful and intentional. He doesn't allow things to happen or intervene in a way that doesn't involve his divine purpose. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every failure, every fear, every unplanned circumstance is filtered through the palms of his hand. God is loving and sovereign and would never be careless or random with us. I love that. The course of our journey is as unique as the rhythm of each lighthouse. And I loved that parallel and just how you're bringing up the whole concept of the lighthouse. But you have to read the book so that you can understand more about that. But that was beautiful. So that quote, wow, that he's loving and sovereign and would never be careless or random with us. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of my infertility journey, I was very angry. I thought if God could make a virgin pregnant and we could, Mary could become pregnant, why could he not make me
Yeah.
pregnant?
Yeah.
If, you know, if there's so many unwanted pregnancies out there, how come he couldn't make me pregnant
Mhm.
when we were
True.
ready, willing, able?
Mhm.
But sadly, if you think about that and you think about those statements, there's actually a lot of pride in that. There's a
Mhm.
lot of entitlement in that,
Mhm.
right? It's what we think we deserve.
Yeah.
Um, but God, if God was withholding his love from us, and if
Mm.
he was withholding good from us, he would never have made the biggest sacrifice by sending his son Jesus to die for us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was something I had to circle back to, the very
Mhm.
root of where my faith began,
Mhm.
because I couldn't believe one thing and not the other.
Right. Yeah.
You have to put your faith in all of it.
Yeah.
And so if your foundation is shaky, go back to the very, very, very beginning of where your journey started with
Mhm.
God.
Mhm.
So that was that was really something that I struggled with at the beginning. Anyone who's got unexpected change in their life,
Mhm.
or they're stuck in the waiting room, you
Yeah.
know, we do feel entitled, especially in this day and age where you can order something today and it'll be on your doorstep tomorrow.
Yes.
But God does not work like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does, actually.
Yes, he's
But
fully capable of that, but that
yeah,
doesn't necessarily mean it's the pattern.
exactly, exactly. So, finding your rhythm in faith, finding your rhythm in trust, finding your rhythm through persevering, all those rhythms are different.
Yeah.
And I love Newfoundland. We go to Newfoundland a lot. And I didn't know, but the lighthouses all have a different rhythm. And it makes sense because you need to know which lighthouse you're looking at
Yeah.
so that you know where you are going around the island of Newfoundland,
Mhm.
which is quite a big province. It's not like Prince Edward Island.
No.
So, each lighthouse has its own rhythm, and so does each journey that we have, and so does each season that we have. And so, finding that rhythm and looking to see, like, where is God working right now?
Mhm.
And to stop that attitude of entitlement, or I deserve this, or he's withholding that. No, he's
Mhm.
not. He's not
Yeah.
random. He's
No.
not frivolous with our lives. He loves us very much.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really beautiful. I love the whole concept that he is not random because he's
Mm,
not.
that's
And he
right.
has a plan that is perfect for you, for your family. And it is the waiting room. It is the waiting and the trusting and relying
Mhm.
on him and allowing him to change us and to sanctify us in that process of the waiting, which is really hard. But so the talk a little bit about when you first decided that, okay, you know what? Let's consider adoption. What did that look
Mhm.
like for you and for Dwayne?
Well, I wasn't new to the idea of adoption. It had happened in our family, in our extended family. Um, and I had read George Mueller's biography, which I encourage everybody to read
Yes.
because it's just an incredible, incredible story.
Yeah.
And we serve the same God today,
Hmm.
which is amazing. But George Mueller, for those who don't know, he ran an orphanage and had really relied on God for every meal of every day.
Hmm.
And so I was just really inspired by him, and the whole adoption process um, really was something I was considering much more earlier in the
Hmm.
journey than Dwayne was, because
Hmm.
he was more foreign to the idea. And of course, there's a lot of misconceptions about it, less now, hopefully. But anyway, um, he was really like concerned about who we could work with to take us through this journey,
Right.
right?
Of course. Yeah.
And I I wasn't sure who we could work with at that point, but I went out for lunch with a friend and she mentioned that people she knew had adopted through Jewels for Jesus, which is now called JFJ Hope Center, and they're in
Oh,
Mississauga, Ontario. And at the time, we lived in Mississauga, Ontario. So when she told me about them, I was immediately intrigued because I thought, okay, this is a Christian adoption agency, a private agency. So
mhm,
our hands will be held through this whole
mhm,
process, as well as the birth mom.
mhm,
Everybody's best interests are going to be taken into consideration. Things are
mhm.
going to be covered in prayer. And we just felt more, well, especially Dwayne, he felt more trusting in this agency.
I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah. Mhm,
Yeah, so then when we did our own research and we looked it up,
mhm.
we decided, let's just take one step at a time and let's see where God leads. And
Yeah.
as we continue to walk through this journey, he'll either open the doors or he will close the doors.
Mhm.
And I think
Really.
what's crazy about this story is that from the day we went on the list to the day that Lily was born, it was approximately 9 months.
That to me is remarkable. It really is remarkable because
Yes.
often you hear the stories that are it's years, at least 1 to 5. I mean, obviously things can change, right? But
Yeah,
that is really remarkable.
it was. Like, it took us longer to get on the list. There was several months of, different things we had
Mhm.
to go through, home studies,
Yeah.
criminal checks, all of that.
Yes.
But yeah, from the time we got on the list, it was a miracle. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And we only found out 6 weeks before she was born, which actually, um, I learned is actually quite a good notice. Some people find out, the day of,
Right.
because these things are not always planned.
No.
These young moms are scared. So they just don't, they're kind of in denial and they just don't know what to do. And so they don't make any plans until the
Yeah.
ninth hour, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were very fortunate that we had the 6 weeks and we got to meet the birth mom and her family. And I was there for the birth and things went amazingly well to a certain degree. There was obviously some, well, you'll have to read the book.
Yes. You can't tell everything.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, but God's hand is in it in so many beautiful ways. You share so many just incredible moments where God just worked and intervened right down to the last penny, to the last, like, just dot, cross that T. Like, it was really, really just a reminder of God is in the details. He is
Yeah.
in the details.
And in those details is where we found our confidence and our courage, right?
Mm.
Because if I thought, well, if he's in these details and he is overall, like obviously you know that in your head, but you need to really feel it in your heart too
Yeah.
when you're in the midst of a really crazy situation where
Yeah.
there's so many things that, can change. There's so many variables. So yeah, the adoption process was very expensive. And I talk about that in the book
Mm.
because it was a private adoption and we weren't sure where we were going to get the finances. But yeah, read about it and see how
Yeah.
God provided for us.
Yeah.
Literally, like you said,
Yeah.
down to the penny.
Yeah. No, it's amazing because when you get to these moments and all of a sudden it's like this, the last minute, you feel like the last minute God showed up, even though he's been planning this all along. It's the
Yeah.
last minute to us in our
Yeah.
finite brains. But it makes you, and this just happened to me even yesterday, but I just stood there and I went, this has nothing to do with me. This is all him. He held back purposefully, intentionally, waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, he knew this is going to be strengthening our faith muscle that Moira talked about.
Hmm.
And then you just go, wow, you know what? This is all you. It has nothing to do
Hmm.
with me because I could never have orchestrated what happened yesterday. And you could never have orchestrated that moment between you and Dwayne and where you guys were sitting down you can't do those
Yeah.
things. And it's a reminder who is in control. And it's another reminder, are we letting him truly control? Is he really in charge of our heart and mind and our soul? And are we really putting our trust in him? And that is what the book has encouraged me to do, is to really remind myself he is not random and he is in control. So
Hmm.
get the book. You need to get the book. It's available. um, well, thank you for sharing that part of your story. I know that's not an easy thing to share.
No.
Know Lily, and it's been so wonderful to get to know Lily and to now know even more of her backstory. So let's talk a
Hmm.
little bit about Lily has come into your home. You are now a family of three. Your life is completely different.
Hmm.
Talk about what happened in the next 4 or 5, like over the 4 or 5 years, and the next unexpected miracle.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I would love to say is that I didn't like Dwayne and I were never told we could not have children. Um, they just couldn't find a definitive reason why I wasn't getting pregnant because I will say I
Yeah.
never got pregnant. I didn't have a miscarriage. Like I
Mhm.
never saw the pregnancy test say positive one time,
Wow.
not even
And you
once,
took a
not even
lot.
yeah, so it was very strange. It was a phenomenon. Now, I did struggle with endometriosis, but
Mhm.
not a severe case. So I had a procedure and I thought, and this was after Lily was born, and I thought, okay,
Mhm.
this is it. This is my time. This is when it's going to be the best opportunity for me to get pregnant. And no, it did not happen. She was only 2, I believe, when I had that procedure done.
Mhm.
So that did not work out. And that was devastating. And I thought, I got to go through all of this again. So I
Wow.
just I just decided I'm not going to believe this anymore. I'm
Mhm.
just not going to believe that I can get pregnant. This is it. And I'm happy and I really was. She Lily I mean Lily's a beautiful person and beautiful soul, and
Mhm.
her and I were and Dwayne were just enjoying our life together.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to keep going through this,
Yeah.
roller coaster every month. So I thought I'm just
Yeah.
putting this to bed. This is it. This is done. And people would say, "Oh, we're still praying for you." No, stop. I was so like annoyed by that. Don't just like I moved on. You need to
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, my mother-in-law said to me, like, "Do you really believe that God can make you pregnant?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." That was the good Christian girl
Right.
answer.
Mhm.
Yeah, of course
Mhm.
I believe
Of
it.
course.
And I'm thinking, no, like, because if he could have, he would
You
have.
would have done
So
it
no.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've moved on. Like, you need to as well. But anyway, no, she's like, she stopped me and she put her hand on my arm and she's like, no, for real. Do you really believe it?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, yes, I guess I do have to admit that I believe that he can. But then that also hurts to admit in that moment because you're like, well, then why isn't he?
Mhm.
Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Right? Or what have I done? Like, I just don't understand. But we can't make sense of all these things.
No.
This is why I titled the book God is Not Random, because often you look back and you see the pattern and you see the rhythm, but
Right.
it's really hard to see it in the midst of what you're going
Of
through,
course. Yeah.
especially when it's awful.
Mhm.
So I I just admitted to her like, yes, okay, yes, he could I could become pregnant.
You could.
Um and then it was shortly after that, I don't know, a few months. I'm not sure, I don't remember. It might be in the book, but I it was a May long weekend, I think. And I thought, well, going into another long weekend, I want to know. And I think I was a day or 2 late, and I just thought, "I just gotta know," because
Yeah.
I'd been late before,
Yeah.
so I just wanna see that negative
You
test.
needed the peace of mind.
Yeah, I'm like, I just wanna move on with my weekend and have a good
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
So, I went to Shoppers Drug Mart, went to the grocery store, like, it was no big deal. Took the test and took
There
the
it was.
test and dropped it on the floor and looked out the bathroom window, and I screamed. I was like, "Ah!" And then, I was like, "Really, God? Like, now? Like, now?
Like today?
Like, finally?" You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It was just so mesmerizing.
It
And
was
then
good
you
word
would
for that.
think you would think that I would be so pessimistic and so scared, like, "Oh, is this gonna last a day or
Mhm.
2 or whatever?" But remember, I'd never seen that line before and I'd never had a miscarriage. I had this overwhelming peace that I really believe God gave me that
Mm.
was like, "I will not take this from you. This is happening."
Wow.
So I was so, secure in that faith. I was so grounded in that faith of that pregnancy that it was gonna happen. I was unshaken.
Wow. That's a good word. I love that. Unshaken. And you know what? All that you had been through and the struggles of, the struggle with your faith, struggle with infertility. And then I mean, a whole other episode could be on just the whole concept of how you manage a marriage throughout all that
Mm,
as well.
oh, yeah.
But because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
But God was sanctifying and working in you, and it's almost like it's here. Here's the time, and He gave you that beautiful peace that passes all understanding that you can't explain. That comes from Him,
yeah,
and He gave that peace to you. And what a gift! What a
it
gift!
was.
Such
Now
a
my
gift.
husband did not have that peace. That's
No,
a whole other podcast.
yeah.
But, and he won't mind me sharing that. He's shared it on 100 Huntley Street.
Mm.
There's a whole list of interviews if people wanna watch those on my YouTube channel. There's a whole playlist of all of my appearances on
I'll
100
link
Huntley
everything
Street.
for people so that they can continue to discover more.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can watch that interview about how he did not have that same peace that I had,
Mm.
but I was so thankful that God gave that to me. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a gift because I always had prayed like, "God, if I ever do see that pregnancy test become positive, please, like, I just can't handle,
Yeah.
a miscarriage."
Yes.
Like, I
Just the
just
whole thought of
couldn't.
that would just be so devastating.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
so I thought, "If I ever see it positive, I'm gonna know,
Mhm. Mhm.
this is happening." And
Mhm.
praise God, it did.
Yeah.
We had Nathan,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now we have 2 beautiful miracles with
Yeah.
2 completely different journeys and
Totally
stories
different
to
journeys.
tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's so beautiful. But God brought you together on purpose.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's been a delight to get to know your family and to
Mhm.
see the incredible talents and gifts that your kids have and that what you're cultivating in your home. And I know you've been homeschooling
Yes.
and that's another podcast we could talk about too.
Yep.
It's been a big blessing in your life, a blessing in my life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'm sure you would say the same thing about it for sure.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you were to encourage somebody today that's walking through a really, really dark time and they're just barely hanging on to their faith, what would you say to them today to encourage them as they walk through their trial, whether it is the infertility or miscarriage or whatever it might be? What kind
Mhm.
of encouragement could you share with them today?
I would say, persevere through the suffering,
Mm,
because if I hadn't persevered through it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And as a musician, I love, my music analogies. So I say, persevere through the suffering. It will resolve into harmony. When you
mhm.
think of a song, you're listening to a song, the verse can be sometimes like, yeah, and then you get to the chorus and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
love the chorus.
Yeah.
That's because it resolved into harmony. If you look at that as a musician and you see how the
Mhm,
chorus is built musically,
mhm,
it's
mhm.
because it's resolved into harmony. So
Yeah.
think of your life like that. Persevere through that suffering. It will resolve into harmony, and
Mhm.
take time to remain. That's a big thing that God's been teaching me
Yeah.
these past 4 or 5 years.
Mhm,
Remain so that you can hear Him and give Him time to speak to you.
mhm,
This was the thing in my journey. I was always telling God what I wanted to hear, what I
mhm.
wanted, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, what I needed
Right.
from him.
Mhm,
And God wants to speak to us. So we need to and give him that time and
mhm.
give him that space. And that's at the end of each chapter. That's exactly what I
Yes.
challenge people to do.
Yes.
Remain in him and listen to him.
Mhm,
God speaks to you.
mhm.
Right? Whether it's through verses in the Bible, a worship song, another person, a
Mhm.
podcast, a
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
God speaks to us,
Yes.
but we will never hear him if we don't take this time to stop, look, and listen for
Yes.
him. So
Yes.
remain
Love that.
and
Love
hear him.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
really great. I love that. And I think the challenge is really clear. I think for anybody listening today that you can persevere,
Mhm.
uh, but we do need to remain in him and abide in him. And it
Mhm.
means that we have to actively take that step of choosing to stop the noise around us
Mhm.
and focus on him and play your music, the hymns from the harp. But you today, God is not random. Learning the rhythm of trust is available now by Chantal, and I am so thankful for this interview. Thank you so much for sharing your heart, and I can't wait to have you again. I think we should have another one where we talk even more about marriage and homeschooling and different things because there's so
Sure.
many things we could talk about. But thank you for sharing your journey. And I know this will be an inspiration and an encouragement for many people today. So get her book, God is Not Random. And thank you for being with us today. And I look forward to another one.
Thank you.
Take care.